Hello, beautiful stars. Again, we have Dr. Ben with us with IMedDo system, his gold, silver, iodine system. I said gold first because we're going to be talking a bit about gold today. It is the best detox system on the market. Actually, it's kind of an underground market. That's why it's the best. So, hello, Dr. Ben. It's good to see you, my dear.
Hello, can you hear me and see me okay?
Yes, everything's
Wonderful.
running perfect. We every month, so new stars here might know, we cover what you put in your news articles, and I will put those in the description. This one was, I liked it. It was called Mind Control, or it was about mind control. From where it started to where it ended, I was tracking with it. Let's focus on the gold. What kind of mind control are you talking about, Ben?
Well, so this one is a departure from my normally I write about nutrition or detox, and this is related, but this is part of sort of a longer, deeper meditation I've been on for years, where just every now and then I'll just get all this weird Egyptian knowledge. And instead of talking about detox, I wanted to talk about pyramids this month. And I really struggled with the title for this article. The title was going to be Witchcraft and Propaganda, but I ended up changing the title to, what did I go with? Happy Slave Mind Control.
Yeah, Happy Slave Mind Control. That's what it was. Mind control in it.
And it is about mind control. I was meditating on propaganda, how propaganda is used as mind control, and how witchcraft in the bad way. Basically, they were using propaganda to mind control people to do things to harm them. And in particular, I'm always meditating on vaccine detox. So in particular, how the majority of the population was tricked into injuring themselves using well, the thing is, I viewed it as a weaponized third eye attack. Okay. But when I tried to explain this to one of my friends, he's like, oh no, all they were doing, they were just using propaganda and censorship. And so I'm like, okay, think about it. So it is propaganda and censorship, but it was propaganda and censorship used at sort of a whole different level of evil than people understand. Okay. And I was trying to explain it as this is actually a weaponized third eye attack being used against you. Okay. Yeah. And so that's where my headspace was. I was trying to, I could see it in my head, but I was having a difficult time talking about this topic or explaining it to people in any meaningful way but really it is about mind control, and it is about what this article, this Happy Sleep Mind Control is. It is what I believe is a very ancient form of mind control. And I think it's important that people understand how it works and how to counter it, because it was just successfully used against everyone. And all those people who did it weren't brought to justice. So of course they're going to do it again. They're going to keep doing it if people aren't learning how to be resistant to this.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think what's always fascinating to me is everybody's, esoteric knowledge, Egyptian stuff, as you go into in this article, all ancient stuff. It seems to be, it's the occult, it's the mystery schools, when really none of it's a mystery to a population of people, a group of people. They know exactly what they're doing. They never let it go. But to us laymen out here, we think it's all a mystery, so therefore, or that it doesn't exist because it's been that long. No, it's used all the time.
So that was one important point, is this really does exist, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it, but I ended up landing on the title Happy Slave Mind Control. It's just a form of mind control. It uses propaganda, but what's different about it, the happy part is, okay, it is a mind control that is so advanced that it actually uses love, and fake love in a negative way, to trick people into accepting what someone is saying and receiving that as a feeling of false self-love. Okay. And it's easier just to give an example. So the example is the people who, some people were just tricked into taking the jab, but some people were actually tricked into taking the jab, and they actually equated taking the jab with feeling of self-love. Like, I'm poisoning myself because I love myself and I want to protect my family around me. So they were equating it with love and self-love, but really they were being mind controlled to hurt themselves.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's a different kind of so regular mind control. I didn't really talk about regular mind control much because I'm not an expert on that, but I can tell you regular mind control is just fear-based. Okay. It's just fear-based mind control. And that worked on a lot of people, like, take this jab or you'll lose your job. Oh my God, I'm afraid I'll lose my source of income and I can't feed my family. I'm going to be out on the streets. That's a form of fear-based mind control. And that works on a lot of people. Okay. But this mind control is a level beyond that. And it is actually making you love them for it. Okay. Does that make sense? So that's kind of
Yeah, no. So Ben, because I think it does make perfect sense to me. And I think it does to most of the people here listening. During that time, my husband and I, we did not do it. We did not take anything. Every family member on the phone, a lot of my friends from at least the North, friends I've been with forever, all of their arguments, like if we're discussing it or they're trying to get me to do it. I mean, I think every conversation I had with my mother, I love my mother, but every conversation for a year and a half when I was on the phone with her, she brought it up.
And the thing is, because she loves you and she was equating that with by telling you to get the vaccine. Hey, I love you, get the vaccine, because so she had succumbed to this happy slave mind control, if you will, where it was a weaponized third eye attack using, and it's so malicious because it actually was mind controlling her into feeling the feeling of love.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why she would be calling you and be like, hey, you need to take this because she loves you and she wanted you to do it. But she was understanding that it wasn't right. And so how do you overcome that? First of all, it's even hard to recognize and it's hard to overcome. But the way you overcome it, first of all, just simplified big picture of this whole newsletter. It was very Egyptian themed, but basically I was thinking about pyramids and the bin stone on top of the pyramid. I was thinking about the art that I use at fairs and how I use it. And what I figured out is that the IMedDo art, the way I'm using it is the same way as a bin stone, which is the topper of the pyramid. It's the same thing. And it's a mandala, a thing of beauty. And I was having people, are you familiar with my artwork that I use at the fairs and how I tell people to use it?
Yeah.
In this newsletter, I describe how you do it, where you line it up with your head, you're using it as a reflective mirror. You're looking at yourself, you're looking at your inner divine self, and you're telling yourself, I love you.
Right.
Okay. And so what I was doing, and I've been doing it for years before I really realized what I was doing, is I was training people how to use their third eye to project love, reflect it back to themselves so that you feel what self-love feels like.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I was doing, which I didn't realize, is I was actually training people to be resistant to this form of happy slave mind control. Because when your third eye is open, you know how to project love, you know what self-love feels like, you are not susceptible to an external party coming in there projecting, say, mind controlling you, saying, do this, and you interpreting that as self-love, because you can tell the difference between, okay, that's a fake love trying to mind control me versus this is what real self-love feels like. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes. So we don't have a picture of it right now, folks, but he always has this mirror set up, and it's like a 3-tier mirror, and it's got gold circles also in it, that when you do look at it and how you see yourself through this, it does represent, and because it's also gold throughout, it does reflect like he was just saying, the love that you can have for yourself back to you. So Ben, I do get that, because when we have self-love, and this is why Brad and I would say no to things, when we do have self-love, even if even if other people don't understand it, we make the right decisions for ourselves. And so when that false love, that false projected, you're doing the right thing, propaganda comes into play. You're going to know what love actually feels like. You're going to know how love actually helps you make decisions. So I completely get it, Ben. How did you recently, the Ben stone on top of the pyramid, where did that come into play, that you put these two together?
There's a way for me to share my screen, but when I do it, it says you disabled screen sharing. If you let me share my screen, I have the newsletter up, I can pull up these pictures and possibly show them where people can kind of see them too.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a that's a great question. Where does this stuff come from? It just downloads from the universe at the right time sometimes, I guess. I mean, I've been meditating on Egyptian stuff for a long time, but actually the missing pieces for this meditation actually came from Norse mythology, not actually Egyptian mythology. And then I figured out how it went back to the Egyptian stuff. But so, okay, where are we going to go with that? So first of all, the bin stone is in everyone's mind in America, whether you realize it or not, because it's on the back of every dollar bill. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So subliminally, whether you even realize it or not, everyone in America has seen a bin stone. Okay. On the back of the dollar bill, it's got the pyramid and the all-seeing eye.
Right.
Okay. And so
I am not, just for you, so you know, and everybody listening. Yes, I was doing all this stuff with my fingers. You might have saw that. Ben, I don't know where that is located on this particular electronic.
That's fine. You'll just have to go to my newsletter and look at the images there later on your own. But most people are familiar with this because everybody's seen a dollar bill, right? Yes. But you'll see it's a pyramid, and then it's got the pyramid topper, that little triangle at the top of the pyramid. That is the bin stone part. And bin stone means the gold stone, which was gold and silver. It was actually electrum. And I meditate on that all the time because, I do the gold and silver health supplements is part of why I'm thinking about that as a partial answer to your question. And then, so one of the questions that came to me, I was like, okay, well, what the heck does that mean on the back of the dollar bill, for one thing? And so I do go into that, and it actually has different meanings. But the older meaning was that the eye part was a symbol for God, basically the eye of providence. And then the new meaning is actually different, where this is sort of like your AI, DARPA, slave, overlord, new world order to enslave you type thing. And so it really has two meanings. One meaning it's God, one meaning it's basically the devil. Okay, so it can go either way. People have really mixed feelings about that symbol because it really depends on, it is just, so it turns out what I figured out, long story short, is that the bin stone is not actually the stone on the pyramid. It's actually your own third eye. Okay, your third eye is the bin stone. So you don't need a cool pyramid or anything. I mean, they're great to have, they help. But we all have our own bin stone, which is our third eye. But the way that they're using the bin stone, it was synonymous with a mandala mirror. So when you a mirror, a normal mirror is usually silver plated because silver is 99% reflective. So you see yourself with a mirror. Okay. So, but what you do is you have your own third eye, but you need a mirror to reflect it back at yourself to see it. Okay. To see God, if you're looking at yourself, that's basically what it's kind of about in the God meeting. So I hope I answered your question on that.
And may I interrupt for a moment?
Yeah.
What is curious to me is you keep touching right here. This is not your third eye.
Yeah. It's like back here. I know.
No, you're touching your star consciousness.
Okay.
Because you're in the right zone with the top of the pyramid, you're touching the right part, but you're still referring to it as a third eye. The third eye is directly between the eyes, and the third eye might open and awaken. It might be used. Third eye does not eliminate fear. Third eye still it can be used in many different ways. Star consciousness, where you are unconsciously touching your head, Ben, there is no fear.
Well,
top of the pyramid all pyramids are also actually a reflection of ourselves.
Yes. And so when I looked at, okay, what does this symbol mean? Well, it's really great because to figure out what it means, since it's on top of a pyramid, you have to go look at ancient Egyptian stuff to really figure it out. Look at the bin stones. They actually found one that was from one of the pyramids, the Black Pyramid. It's in the Museum of Cairo. And I included a picture of it and the translation of what it said on it. And it's basically talking. And so it's basically their concept of a God in the complete form, male, female, everything. So that star consciousness is really more of that whole Amun-Ra complete God concept. If I'm touching here is what I'm thinking about. Okay. And whereas the third eye, like you're saying, is more of like the man, or the woman, the human.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing is like connecting the person with the all-encompassing God concept. So
Yeah.
I kind of use the terms interchangeably. I know what you mean, and I totally agree with you there. So yeah, if I'm talking about the star consciousness, that's where this information came from, is from the star consciousness. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So absolutely.
Love the fact, though, that just as you're talking, you're touching there. Because everyone knows that we know each other. So I'm like, yeah, Ben, that. Because that is what we all need to ascend to. Ben, I have to say, so tomorrow, I don't know when this program's going to air, but tomorrow is the summer solstice. And
Cool.
For people like you and some others that might already be heavily influenced by ancient Egyptian stuff, do know, Ben, that tomorrow, that illumination of the summer solstice, ancient Egyptian codes, downloads, activations are readily available and might even happen without you knowing to many people throughout the entire summer. And you might be one of them. That is what starts tomorrow.
Well, that's exciting. If you want to get prepared for that, please read my newsletter first and then go all for it, because get you in the Egyptian mindset for sure. So what I figured out, but did you have any other questions before I continue on?
Well, no, but I did want to mention your system for this, because stars, what we're headed into in the summertime, and definitely into August, September, October, you're going to want the detox, because what we're talking about with the gold, it does protect the mind. It does protect what's going on, and also helps you handle your powers and downloads and activations and codes being revealed and people's third eyes actually waking up and crowns opening and all sorts of stuff, that his detox system, the iodine, silver, and gold, will help the transition so much more, because everybody's going to be transitioning, Ben. Everybody's going to be faced with, why am I here? What's going on? And that sort of thing. Yeah.
And that's exactly right. And that's also why I'm thinking about this stuff, because my products are mandalas, and the iodine activates your third eye. I'll touch here, not here. And so it's activating your third eye, which is your real bin stone, is activated by the iodine. Then the silver and gold, like on the pyramid, create the mandala, the reflective mirror that you're able to see and connect to your star consciousness. So that's why the iodine, silver, and gold together, the way that I was using them with the art, I would have people take the iodine, silver, and gold, and then they would look at the art, use their third eye, project love back to themselves. So they had the silver and gold inside them. They had the silver and gold on their art. So it's connecting the external to the internal, all that stuff. But yeah, this is very, very related to my products and the art. It's all the same thing, just in a different format. But by taking the health supplements internally, it really helps you connect that internal part. I think a lot of people are shut off on the inside by all the toxins and things that they have, and that's what's really blocking them from connecting to their higher star consciousness self.
I agree. And I think, like I said, crowns are going to be opening, and that does not, and it will not matter if the pineal gland is, healthy or not. And so it's going to get tricky for folks. So your system, I know, flushes everything out so we can work with our bodies accordingly. I mean, if we all are afraid of like the AI, our systems, our bodies, as Ben talks about here with the periodic table and all of it in our bodies, we're the best machines, AI, whatever you want. We are the most fascinating beings that we need our bodies to be healthy, to sustain, especially when we're starting to talk about cosmic downloads. I mean, people, you got to be ready for this. It's, if not, if people do not put their bodies, minds, all of it together, then it would be a very bumpy road. Very bumpy. Say that. I appreciate how, the people that might buy your system already might know of the propaganda, but there were a lot of people. My husband and I were just talking about this, that how you said they had to take it to keep their job. Us down here in the South, I love you guys so much wherever you are on this beautiful globe. We did not have to do that so much. Like, we were not forced in the southern part of the United States to take it as others were in different areas. And I have a lot of friends and family that they kept refusing Ben. They kept refusing Ben. And then a memo would go out. If you do not do this, you will not be able to keep your job. And I know it's easy for a lot of us to say, well, then just leave your job. That's not so when you have mouths to feed, and maybe your other partner or spouse already lost their job because it just went away. It wasn't so easy for people. So in regard to that, because if that's in you, do you feel like that's still a form of mind control if the jab is still in you?
Yes, that is regular mind control.
Okay.
That's not happy slave mind control. Okay. The regular mind control, I think, is just fear-based. Okay. Fear-based. And the counter to that is just being courageous.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And that's why I got a lot of the Norse meditation, because that's where it came from. Like, oh, like that, the Aegis Jalmur, the helm of invincibility. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm like a,
right.
Right. Fearless Viking, whatever. So, and that works for most mind control. But there is sort of a dark sorcery, higher level mind control that goes beyond that. It wasn't just fear-based. It was projecting love. Well, I didn't really want to, I don't want to say it's projecting love, but it's using your third eye to project a deceptive love.
Yes, deceptive.
Okay. It's a deceptive love that the people receiving it will perceive as self-love.
Right.
And that's why it's such a good mind control, is because they can't perceive that it's coming from an external source. They perceive it coming in as self-love. Yeah. And then once they're mind controlled, they will spread it like your mother. I think you said your mother got mind control, and then she'd call you and say, hey, take this. I love you. I want to take it. She was mind controlled and she really loves you. So she really meant that. So you would perceive real love from her. It wasn't deceptive love. She wasn't deceiving you. She was sending you real love, but she herself had been deceived. And so that's why it is such a dark sorcery, happy slave mind control, as I call it, because it's really dark sorcery stuff, because it is a form of mind control that is almost incounterable. The only way to counter it is with, for you to be resistant to it, you have to have your own self-love so that you can tell what the difference between self-love is and what deceptive love feels like coming in. And then other than that, if you see, and this is the part that I didn't understand until a day after I wrote the newsletter, okay? If you see someone under the control of it, what do you do? So, and this was the part that's hard to me, because usually I'm a dancer. So when there's lead follow, so when somebody gives you energy, I usually match it, Yeah. So if someone's coming in nice, I come back nice. If they're coming in hot, I come back hot. So if someone's coming at me with mind control, I'm just right back at you, punk. And that's not the correct way to handle these people. When they're under the mind control, the only way to break the happy slave mind control is to project real love harder. Yeah. You have to project real love harder. You have to go back to your mom and be like, look, mom, I love you so very much. way
Right.
more than these vaccine companies who are trying to control you. And because of that, I want you to know that they are lying to you and this isn't real. And then she will have to feel the difference. Okay, here's the love coming in from the vaccine company. Here's the love coming in from my daughter. And then she would be able to hopefully distinguish, okay, your love is real. But a lot of families were not able to, and that's why families were breaking apart
Yes.
during
Yeah.
this time. I mean, there were arguments like, did you see,
That was
remember that?
interesting to me. Actually, to watch that, I mean, I know a ton of families that they still aren't really talking that well. Oh, and it's fascinating that that had that kind of power. I do want to bring it back to your system with when you are flushed out and you are thinking how you should, and your body's working accordingly, and you can feel your body, and you're loving your body because you're giving it what it needs. Well, then it's easier to love yourself. And then if you can love yourself, then you can have the compassion for others. There was zero, it seemed like there was zero compassion for people who just disagreed. It was fascinating to watch. I mean, it was as if everybody was happy they weren't getting together for the holidays because they didn't like each other anyways. It was very interesting. And I know we're kind of coming out of that, but yet it's still present. And they know now, and I think this is why you're bringing it up now, Ben, they know how well this works. Because see, it worked in World War II. That's how World War II really, it's what Hitler used. It was national pride. It was, and that's what we're headed into, pride and arrogance, right?
Right.
That theme of the summer. It started that. Have pride for who you are and your nation. That's how all of that started.
So you
So
feel love coming in from the country, your love of country, you feel love coming in from your leader, and you'll do whatever your leader says to do because you equate that with love.
Right. What threw us off is because it was a global thing. And so we didn't associate it. We didn't associate it that it was the same skills, the same tools. Right. It just because it was global. And I personally, I still don't really know. I love myself. I'm clean and clear of things. But just now, people, because of what's coming out in the media or what's coming out in the news of, yeah, this really doesn't work. Yeah, this really wasn't good for you. Yeah, you're going to probably get blood clots. I know more women now that have brain tumors, Ben, than ever before. All sorts of stuff is coming out. So now is the window. Now I think is the window, as you're trying to say, project real love to them. Right.
And you have to do it stronger than the deceptive love they're getting in. And that is really hard. And that is where I figured out I sort of failed. So I'm good at self-love. I can love myself, but I'm not good at projecting love to others when they're coming at me with a deceptive love. So like if you're like, so the old Ben, your mom would have come to me and been like, hey, I want you to get the jab. And I'd be like, you crazy old bat, you're trying to, poison me. You're totally a mind control slave. But that's not projecting love back to her. That's just like, screw you, stop. So that's the normal reaction is like, but that doesn't work when they're under happy slave mind control, because the only thing that works is project love back harder. So the correct response that I would try to do now, it's still hard for me. Your mom would come to me and be like, hey, I want you to get this vaccine. I'd be like, look, I love you so much that I want you to know that they're lying to you and that this is not the right way. And I don't know, but somehow I'd have to convince her that I love her more than they love her. And that's basically to do that. And here's what sucks about that. The same skill they're using, you're using better. So they're using dark sorcery love control. You literally have to use dark sorcery love control back to counter it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not self-love, it's projected love. It's like prayer, and it's projected love. But it has to be real. But even if it's deceptive, it doesn't matter. You're doing the same thing that they're doing, but you're doing it with the intent to help and break their mind control versus to mind control them. And so that's the really confusing part about it.
I want to clarify for people.
Yeah.
because you said you're using basically the same kind of magic. All magic, really, well, all magic is communication, by the way. But all magic is energy, right? It's us who make it good or bad. It's us who give it its identifying markers. It's us. So if they're using to project out false love, to project out this illusion of you are caring for yourself and others, and this is actually helping all of humanity, right? Like if they're projecting that out, then you have to do the same, but project it in love and light, the truth, the honesty. Remember, that's why all that, no matter what ascended master you're going to talk to or read about, they're going to say truth. They're going to say truth, because truth and love will always probably override deceit and love. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It
kind
does.
of when you're in a relationship and you're dating somebody and they're like, I'm not cheating on you, no, I love you. I'm not cheating on you, no, I love you. And they buy you gifts and they're doing all this great stuff, but you know there's something off about it. You know there's some kind of off about that love they're presenting, when you really just want the truth, right? Yeah.
And what it kind of comes down to, it's sort of like weaponized love versus de-weaponized love. And but the way I figured out what was going on was actually through more like Norse mythology, where I figured out the weaponized use of the third eye, which is when you're projecting fear and terror when you're attacking as an attack technique, and as a defensive technique, that's a projecting love. When you're on the defensive side, they're coming at you, you're like, oh no, don't attack me, you love us.
Yeah. Oh.
And stuff would wear, one would wear a lead helmet when you're projecting fear and terror, one would wear a gold helmet when you're projecting love. Okay. But yeah, then the English language, the word leader got a good connotation. So we're attack culture, where the word defense word golder, or whatever the word for where gold would be, person who uses gold came into being very bad, like associated with like Sauron. At the very end of my newsletter, I show a picture of the eye of Sauron. and so, but that the use of your third eye with gold, it has two ways. One is the correct way, which is you're reflecting love to yourself, self-love. The second way is you can project love out to other people. That's like praying for other people. It's like prayer, kind of. And the bad way would be like if you're the Dark Lord, you're projecting. You could defensively project love to make people not want to attack you. That's sort of the weaponized way. But then the really, really dark sorcery way for the people who have really mastered the skill is you can project love in a weaponized external way, where you can project a false love stronger than people feel self-love to mind control them and get them to be your slaves. And that's basically what Sauron could do. I know he's a mythical character, but basically he's modeled after ancient Egyptian stuff. So
right. So the answer is self-love, really.
Yes, it is.
The
answer for you yourself to be impervious to being mind controlled this way is self-love.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing that I realize, they don't have to deceive you. They only have to deceive one other person. Okay. And then get that one other person to project real love. Like they just deceive your mom and have her say, hey, honey, I love you. Get this jab.
Right.
She's not projecting fake love. That's not a deceptive love, but she was already mind controlled. And so that's why it's so pernicious. And so self-love is now not the solution. You have to project love back at your mom to free her from the mind control.
Okay. So during all of this, many of us, I would say, were trying to project. Ben keeps freezing. So he might be talking on the other side. Ben, if you can hear me, you're freezing, my dear. Okay. So now you're back. Ben, I will say, during much of this, people were not trying to project love back, like love and compassion, which compassion, by the way, everyone, is actually the frequency of 5D. So the more you can hold compassion for yourself and others, trust me, it helps. But most of us were trying to use logic, just logic, which is not, I mean, logic is great. Reason and logic is wonderful, but it wasn't, for me, it was never successful. I would be on a Zoom call with girlfriends and they would be going on and on and on about how I needed to, you know, harm myself. And I would then have rebuttals of logic, rebuttals of logic, rebuttals of logic. And then by the end of it, Ben, this happened more than not. I would say, guys, what you're saying is not logical. And then their immediate response was, oh yeah, we know that. As if they knew. And yeah, we know none of this is logic that we're saying, but it's what you're supposed to do. It's what you do when you love society. It's what you do to help and love humanity.
They were happy slave mind control. You see that now, right?
Nothing to say to that, because it was like, okay, now you're throwing away logic and reason. So honestly, folks, if you, and I'm not the only one that experienced this, Ben. Everybody was experiencing this stuff, trying to use logic and reason. So now we at least know going forward with stuff, because they're going to do stuff like this again, right? Maybe especially towards the election, right? Here in the States, that you don't combat it with logic and reason, which is what our minds tell us to do. You really do have to get that love. But to get that love to, I think what you're saying, Ben, to have it be stronger and more powerful and more true,
It has to be real.
It has to be real, which starts with self. With self. I will tell you guys, when you take his detox, what I hope everybody's understanding, Ben, is your detox system is more than just flushing the body. It's more than that. You see what I'm saying?
It also protects you from this happy slave mind control. Apparently, I didn't know it did that, but it does.
Yes.
So.
Also, let's say you did, because of whatever reason, because of peer pressure, family pressure, you happy slave, or even work pressure, fear, right? Would it take care of that? Would it flush it out? We don't know.
I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
The people who need my supplements, like when you sort of get to a level to know you need them, it's like the people who need it the most don't know they need it. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it would fix the problem, but you wouldn't know to fix the problem if you were mind controlled. You know what I mean? Because you would be so mind controlled, you would only be wanting to do drugs and pharmaceuticals and listen to your mainstream doctor. You wouldn't even consider doing health supplements, and you would think that I was some crazy person trying to poison people when I'm really the guy trying to detox poisons. So people when people are under mind control, they're just completely flipped around and they're not logical. And if you listen to them, some of these people are under fear attack mind control, and they're just doing this out of fear. And those people are just cowards. They need to get less cowardly to overcome it. But some of the people actually were succumbed to this really dark sorcery of happy slave mind control, where they were doing it out of love, and they need more self-love, but they don't know what that feels like. So all you can really do if you want to help these people is to project real love at them, so that they have something to compare it to, and they'll realize that that is different than what they're experiencing. But ultimately, they really need to become a mirror to see. They have to end up getting that self-love. They need to love themselves more. So all these themes of love yourself more, it's true. It really is true. And love other people more, it's really true.
And truly connect with your star consciousness more as well. Ben, I have to say though, that, so how should I say this? Do I have a definitive, yes, this can detox it all, right? No, I don't. But what I can say for me, and what I know about my body, and what I was able to see and know what was going on, and also with my husband's, I believe that even if the vaccine is within, right, your detox would take care of the side effects. Let's say that. I really, truly because I scan my body, Ben. I scan my body. I know exactly what's wrong with my body at all times. I really do. And sometimes I care and sometimes I don't. That is being a human, right? Sometimes we care, sometimes we don't. That's what humans do. I can scan my husband's body. I can do all sorts of things, right? See what's going on. Like if I was doing, and to the cellular level, if I need to. This is why I'm good at doing Reiki. I do believe, and this is me saying it, not Ben, ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful stars. This is my interpretation of the IMedDo system with my psychic sight abilities. I believe that would it necessarily remove the vaccine? No. I do believe it would get rid of the side effects of it, though, period. That's my belief. So I know we can't claim it, Ben. I know there's a lot that we can't claim because there's not any evidence, nor can we really claim anyways. I humbly say, with the abilities I do have and what it's done with my body, what I've seen it in other people's bodies, I do believe it would take care of the side effects. Which now that's what we're into. Now we're stepping into the side effects. Now we're stepping into, why do I know way too many women with all of a sudden brain tumors? Why do we know so many men who die of blood clots out of nowhere? Why do we know so many people? We're in the side effects now, folks. So I do believe his system can handle a lot of that. And then, of course, it is self-love, right? Because that getting to that bend stone of yourself as a pyramid, that star consciousness, Ben, then you're living without fear and you're living with health, right? That's what I think.
Well, I'm really excited because you really get the gist of this newsletter and what it really means, and I really appreciate that because I don't know if everyone would, but I know that you get it, and even if one person gets it, and just knowing, just being able to identify what's going on and knowing what the counter is just very valuable because I did not know what the counter was. I saw this everywhere, and what I was doing was the wrong thing because, like you would try to talk to people with logic, and they just weren't logical. They were loving people that they weren't responding to real love. It's like, hey, I'm your brother or your sister. I'm telling you this is bad. They're like, no, the pharmaceutical company says this is good, and I believe them more than you. They just.
And for me, I'm a teacher, but all teachers also need teachers. My teachers throughout the whole thing were saying every conversation, everything that's going on is an opportunity to practice compassion. And so when I wouldn't be in those heated moments, because sometimes, if the conversation just kept going, you can only listen to so much until you're like, hey, this is my logic. I'm not doing it, right? Most of the time, because of my teachers telling me, practice the compassion of 5D, I was able to do that. But my teachers have a very small set of students that listen, right? That most people we were using logic. So moving forward, Ben, hands down, I think it was a great opportunity to talk about this right now, especially for this summer, as we have to use love and compassion with everything we're seeing and doing and talking. And it is, Brian, one of those things of love them, they know not what they do.
I love that. I love where you're going with that, with compassion. That's exactly where we are. We'll just view it as a great opportunity to show people compassion. Like I see people around me with these terrible vaccine side effects, and you don't want to blame them or you don't even necessarily want to point out that, hey, you got duped into the happy slave mind control. Haha. No, you don't do that. Right. You just want to be compassionate and be like, look, they're getting back to where they can get back to logic and be like, okay, logically, you understand that you were lied to, you've been poisoned, you're having these bad side effects. The solution is you need to detox. Here, I know this really great detox system. You don't need to know why it works. Just do it, it'll work. Love yourself and it'll work.
Yes, love yourself.
And that's a really important thing. I noticed, like, when people would buy my health supplements to give to someone else, it was never as powerful as if when people buy it for themselves. Because when you buy this health supplement for yourself, that is actually an act of self-love.
Yes.
And you feel what when you, like, I know that's weird, but like when people, and so I all the time people are like, oh, I'm going to buy this for my mom, or I'm going to buy this for my daughter. I'm like, no, just buy it for yourself first.
Yes.
Because feel what that self-love feels like, and then you can buy it for someone else, and then they'll feel what that feels like. Because before, it's like, hey, if you're buying this for me and it's supposed to be self-love, but you didn't buy it for yourself, then it's like, I don't really trust you. Or are you trying to deceive me? Like, why are you trying to give this to me, but you're not using it for yourself? That's kind of like the whole.
Well, because you and my husband have had conversations, I got to tell you that every morning when he does your system, he verbally says, I'm loving myself while he does it.
That's
He
beautiful.
verbally says those words, I'm loving myself, which people like, especially those like my husband, everybody must understand my husband by now because I'm always bringing him up and all of his quirks. But all of us need to do that. He verbally, you guys must have spoke at some point because I now hear him every morning. I'm loving myself. Okay, go for it. I love it. I love that you're loving yourself, and it really, all of it starts there. All the healing, all the accepting, all the processing, all the resolve of families, of individuals, of nations, communities, everybody. It really does start with the self-love that Ben's talking about. And then being able to have compassion for self and others. It's time, I think, that people start healing instead of debating and pride get in the way, and it's just egos talking to egos. And because we even did that, and we know, I know, there were two fashions. It was either the yes or the no's, and the no's were even very up in arms of logic and do you know what you're doing, and we got very boisterous as well, right? There is that middle ground, and that middle ground is love, compassion for self and others. So I'm hoping that when all these activations that are going to be happening, all these downloads, all these and Ben, I gotta say, when we film in the summer, I'm going to be way interested in what happens with you, and I'm going to be very interested, because it is that. And I talk about the pyramid of self-ascension: mental, physical, spiritual. And Ben takes care of the physical, guys. And if you don't take care of the physical, you will not have the mental and spiritual. It will not happen. It's known. It's known. There should not be any debate, Ben, that you cannot have the full mental and spiritual capacity to actually go past your third eye into your star consciousness and be the master presence and be the ascended master that you all are. Ben is. If you don't take care of that physical first and sustain the physical, there's no way. There's no way, Ben. No way. So that's why I love what you serve. I love how you serve. I really do.
Oh, I wanted to tell you that this topic, whether you realize it or not, is actually related to your astrology prediction. I heard your prediction for Scorpio this month, and it was just like terrifying. It was like, Scorpio, you must crash and burn and fly by October, or you're screwed, or something. I don't know. It was just great. And I'm a Scorpio, so. But it was so funny because the Bin stone and the whole pyramid thing is also associated with the Binu bird, who is basically the phoenix.
Yes.
And the fire. So the whole concept of the resurrection and the phoenix and the fire, all that is crash and burn and reborn and rebirth, resurrection, all that stuff is all also in the concept of the Bin stone tied into self-love with the ancient religion and stuff. So it doesn't seem related, but it is.
Yeah, no, Ben, it is. Honestly, the audience want to hear more from us in the summer because they know I'm a Scorpio moon and rising or ascending, so all of my trials and tribulations so I can ascend is in Scorpio. And so When I got that message from the Akashic, and what we're referring to, if you haven't heard, I do Akashic Zodiac messages. And so for June, it was like, hey, Scorpio, your transition has started. If you like it or not, you're going to crash and burn. You're going to fly. You're going to sing songs. You're also going to fall on your knees. It was like all this awesome, great between now and like all summer and fall. And I was like, great. And I thought of you, Ben, because you are out of everybody I know, we are the most of the Scorpios that I know, that I thought of you. And I went, oh, Ben and I, oh, this is going to get wild. So maybe we should record even more so everybody can be like, what's going on, Courtney and Ben? And we just talk about all the wild stuff Scorpio's going to go through. Yeah, we're starting our Phoenix coming out of the ashes, because we have to fly for everybody. And that goes for all Scorpios, by the way. Yeah, the Scorpios are going to have to, which makes sense if there is so much more. The ancient Egyptian stuff is going to be much more present for people, more accessible, more present. More people are going to be called to ancient Egyptian knowledge. And I think it's funny that Netflix put out that Cleopatra thing and it blew up in their face. I watched the first 5 minutes of it and I went, oh God, it's horrible. I turned it off, and then it blew up in their face. And so many Egyptians started doing videos saying, you can't mess with our culture. This is who we are. This is what is nice is that just recently happened that Egyptians, that culture, because of that, became more in the forefront again, which now, starting tomorrow, those ancient codes are going to be starting to download into people very easily. And you're going to see more Egyptian. You're going to understand pyramids much more. Everybody is. That I'm happy that it started with, hey, don't mess with our culture. Don't mess with our history, because that introduced people that might have not have known to, whoa, yeah, actually they have the most fascinating culture and history. Why don't we read a little bit before the big illumination of the sun tomorrow? The sun, sun, so I'm so very excited. Yeah.
So before we get done, there's one other thing I want to talk about that was kind of in the article, but it was about how their ongoing happy slave mind control attack separate from the vaccine attack. So that vaccine attack was like the most egregious. Okay. However, there's been an ongoing one that's ongoing right now. You mentioned one of them with the pride stuff. That's also one, but the older one that's been going on since the 70s is the dollar bill, where they took us off the gold standard. So before, it had that pyramid in that eye, and that pyramid in that eye was represented gold, and good, God, and gold are all interrelated words. Okay.
Right.
So I want Americans at least to know that the meaning of the eye on the pyramid really has changed. Okay. And what it is supposed to mean is good, God, and gold. And that dollar bill is supposed to be backed up by silver and gold.
Yeah.
Okay. But since they took us off the gold standard, it's not exactly the same as self-love. This is with gold or not, but it's related topic. Okay.
Ben, you are cutting.
They took it off the gold standard. It is now a deceptive thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Ben,
yeah.
You're cutting in and out a little bit, so talk a little bit slower.
Sure. Yeah. I'm talking about the eye on the pyramid on the dollar bill.
Okay.
That the meaning has changed. The meaning used to mean God and gold and good.
Yes.
And now it means the eye of Sauron. Okay. It means the New World Order, mind control, happy slave mind control.
Right.
It's the same exact Egyptian symbol, but the meaning is different depending on how it's used. If it's being used as a reflective golden mandala to see yourself for self-love, or is it being used to trick you and turn you into a slave? And I'm very sad to report that currently it is being used to trick you and turn you into a slave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the defining moment what people didn't realize is when we went off the gold standard, where that dollar and that I no longer means gold. Now it means tracking. Okay. It means, and it doesn't mean you're one with God anymore. It means the state is God and they're watching and controlling you and enslaving you. So
Right.
that's the whole new world order thing. And so I want people to be aware of that. So Egyptian stuff is great, but people get really confused the Egyptian stuff because some people look at it and they're like, oh my God, this is everything. It's so wonderful. Some people look at it like, oh my God, this is evil stuff. And that is the difference. It's the same symbol, but what it means depends on how it's being used.
You know, that's what happened, Ben, is because the symbols, the knowledge, the use of all ancient Egyptian stuff, and I mean very ancient, because of just the power that it holds, has been reused and manipulated and changed its energy. That does not mean, though, that the original is not still present. We, like with all energy, like I said at the beginning, all energy is actually neutral. But when you have a symbol or you have a concept or what you're doing, if you want to give it that negativity, then it's going to play out negative. If it's positive or you want it to be positive, it'll play out positive. What they had, especially like the pyramids, pyramids are the most significant, most powerful of architecture and sacred geometry. You can use it bad or you can use it good. We are the ones that decide that. So when I see a bill, I know that they've tried to change it. I know they've tried to change it, but when I actually visibly see it, I tell myself, oh, you're watching over me. Thank you, Gold. Thank you, God. I do that to
Yes, yes.
out my relationship with money, my relationship with, I still see you as your original good state. I still see you as your origins. Because that's how I see all Egyptian stuff, but it is the most powerful in symbols. It's the most powerful in a ton of stuff. That's why it's been used for negative.
And
So
it's not just the $1 bill.
yes.
The
Oh, yeah.
$100 bill has the strip of iodine in it, that purple strip in it. So even though you don't see an eye on the $100 bill, it's there in the form of iodine.
Right. Wow.
Okay, so I want people to be aware of that. But like you say, it's how it's used. So you can still, even though it's not real gold anymore, you could still take that 100.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know why Ben and I are cutting out so much today. I really don't know. His connection should be great. My connection is looking great. So I'm not exactly sure what is happening here. I apologize for that. I might have to shut it down then. Uh, there has been a lot said today, a lot said. And clearly you can tell that Ben and I can probably go on and on about things. So he has completely disappeared. That is okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful stars, there was a lot said today. Do know that going forward, and I hope this is still recording, like Ben and I were talking about, I'm actually trying to write a book right now about how a warrior becomes a healer. And I did talk about this in another episode. I have learned over many years that to combat a fight, to combat a war, to combat mind control, in a warrior stance or a fighter stance, or even now, apparently the logic sense and reason and ways is not how we need to continue. It can only be in healing and in love. That is going to be what triumphs, that love, that compassion for others and self. So it's interesting that Ben's falling, kind of tracking with that too, coming into play, because he's actually very much a healer. He is a healer. And it is what wins in the end. You know what I mean? So, and it starts with self. His system, which I don't have it in front of me, his system, his iodine, silver, and detox. We talk about it here. We talk about all sorts of stuff when I record with Ben, Dr. Ben Goins. That gold that he's talking about, you all know that I'm already fully activated in my brain, that I'm working at a different level, right, with my abilities. That doesn't mean that I didn't put junk in my body over the years. It didn't mean that I wasn't under all the other attacks when you're a child and you got to go to school, right? It didn't mean that I missed out on what most society has to take in and consume, forcefully or non-forcefully, ignorance or not, right? It does start with the body. If you are doing your pyramid of self-ascension, which is what we talk about here, the pyramid of self-ascension, which you are a living pyramid, is what Ben was trying to say with the Ben stone on top. That is your star consciousness, the gold of your own enlightenment and crown, right? That's why we see crowns often as gold, right? You are that. And to sustain and build and complete your structure, because as we all know, with this sacred geometry, if one corner of it, if one end of your pyramid starts to crumble, well, then the whole thing falls. Many of us have no idea the damage that we have done to our bodies. Many of us don't, we still end up taking in damage because of life, the food that we end up having to eat. Not all of us are farmers, right? Not all of us can eat the best. Our living conditions, stuff that we're told we have to take, all sorts of things. His system gets that part, let's say that part that of your pyramid intact. Well, then the rest is up to you. The self-love that Ben was talking about, the self-love, that is your mental, that is your emotional, that's your healing, that's your other side. That's your other side. And at top is that Ben stone, that is your spirituality, that is your star consciousness, that is you being an ascended master, right? So that's why I joined up with Ben. Ladies and gentlemen, you beautiful stars, I have tried so many products. I really have. I'm going to be honest. When my husband's father passed away, there was a little bit of a life insurance policy, and we were able to at that time to spend quite a bit of money on the different iodine products out there, the different this product, the different that product, trying to do exactly what Ben's product does, and none of them worked. Actually, some of them was really not good for me. Ben's product, because you're cleaning everything down to the cellular level with the iodine, the silver is helping it pass through nicely. The silver is actually helping the iodine move around. The silver is helping it break things away and get into where it needs to be. The silver is protecting, and the gold protects the head when it gets in there and it cleans your pineal, it gets in there. And as we're talking about the pituitary a lot on my program, especially with Edgar Casey's study, it's protecting all of it, all of it. So when it's flushing out everything that we've consumed, no matter how old you are, everything that we've consumed and had to take it, knowingly or not knowingly, it really does protect, seal, cleanse, and sustain your physical body self so you can build your pyramid of self-ascension. And all of you know that I am a big Manly P. Hall fan. Big Manly P. Hall fan. For me, he's the ticket, man. Edgar Casey and Manly P. Hall, right? Manly P. Hall talks more often about taking care of the physical self than anything else, really. Because once you do that, the mental and the spiritual it just falls in. You're just able to open yourself up to your full knowing, to your full gifts. So you're not bound by all this physical human conditioning, especially in today's world, right? So I am an advocate, of course. And we said a lot this program about what will be happening in this summer, using self-love and self-compassion and sending it out to others, on top of a lot of Egyptian stuff. This was the first time I put that out there, that there's going to be so much Egyptian stuff. So stay tuned with Stars of the Morning Light, because now it's time. Now I can actually finally be like, you want to talk? Let's do it, right? Because there will be enough people that will understand exactly what I will be delivering. So stay tuned with Stars of the Morning Light. I love you all so dearly. If you want to receive one of Ben's detox systems, it is on my website. The link is below. I have it offered. I have $20 off of it, and it's free shipping. If you want to have a free consultation with Ben, go to his website. It is in the link below. He does free consultations to talk to you personally about what's going on with your body, from all sorts of stuff. Guys, I know people that people that were in Vietnam with the Agent Orange stuff, that have done Ben's system, and it has helped tremendously. You don't hear about that kind of thing often, but that's what I was trying to reference to, as there's always side effects down the road. There's always side effects 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road that present themselves. I'm pretty firm with, I do believe that Ben's system can help with the majority of any side effects of what has occurred in life. So I love you all so very much. Have a great evening. The solstice has already happened. The solstice has already happened. So be ready to start loving yourself and allow the process to unfold. So I love you guys. Cheers.